You're like the perfect spokesperson for accountants and CPA firms all out there. They should be hiring you, putting you on billboards, and saying like, look how much I'm saving, right?
People are like, well, can you help me with my taxes? I'm like, oh, hell no, I don't know how to do that. I just know that there's way better ways to do that. So what do, Alan? I start with
Justin Lund is a serial entrepreneur forged by adversity. After overcoming business fraud, he now helps founders break through limits, reclaim their time, and scale with clarity and confidence.
I think sales is one of the greatest skills to develop. To have a business, you have to exchange goods or services with other human beings. And so at some point in time, a sale has to be transacted. If you can think about the psychological exchange that's taking place, even when I go into a grocery store and there's merchandising experts that have arranged that whole checkout line, all that stuff is engineered. I think that's just sales. You're just thinking through like my experience as a human.
If you can give one piece of advice to someone just starting the entrepreneurial journey, what would it be?
I would say,
hey everyone out there, my name is Alan, CEO of FreeCashflow.io. Welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to uncover secrets behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. Our goal? To help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today's guest is a powerhouse with a story that hits hard and inspires even harder. Justin isn't just another founder with exits under his belt. He's someone who's been to the top, lost tens of millions of dollars in a legal battle, and faced the kind of personal challenges most would never talk about. Through addiction recovery and rebuilding from rock bottom, Justin's journey has completely transformed how he sees business, leadership, and life. Now, he's on a mission to help founders like you break through the invisible ceiling, that burnout prompt, hustle-driven mindset that keeps so many stuck. Through powerful mindset shifts, scalable systems, and smart delegation, Justin shows entrepreneurs how to scale without sacrificing their health, families, or freedom. If you're building something big, but feeling like it's building on top of you, this episode might just be the wake-up call you need. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Alan. Happy to be here.
Justin, can you share a little bit more about your background and what inspired you to start your business with our audience out there?
Yeah. I'll give you the elevator pitch short version.
Sure.
But after getting married at kind of a young age, we were pregnant, so we kind of accelerated the marriage plans, and I got into sales. I was in sales before that, putting myself through college. Sales was something that I enjoyed. I love psychology and just how the mind works. Sales is a great atmosphere for that, where you don't have to go into clinical social work or something like those, down those lanes that didn't interest me as much. So I was utilizing some of my psychology of awareness and enjoying that role when I landed in a sales job that had a lot of drug abuse on the sales floor with prescription medication. And I fell into that and had developed a pretty good addiction to painkillers. There's not a good road to go down, and it was very difficult to try to fight through that. Through a lot of twists and turns and some legal troubles there too with the law. I ended up in a rehabilitation facility, which I fought with everything for a couple of years fighting that addiction. I tried so hard to stay out of that. I was so scared of that scenario. But once I got in and just realized this is exactly what I need. I mean, it was all about psychology, but more specifically, it was my psychology. It wasn't general. There's not a book on my nightstand, right? This is the doctors and professionals working on me, with me, helping me to understand why I was doing the dumb things I was doing. And it was just fantastic. It was a real unlock where I began to learn frameworks and really looking back now 20 years ago, I'm seeing how that was the beginning of a few pivotal moments in my life. That was one of them that really installed this framework thinking where, stimulus comes in. I have the opportunity to pause and decide what filter or framework to put my response through. And instead of just reacting, instead of just letting things happen without awareness or without knowledge and just being like, that's how I am, I began to really exercise some of that self-control and begin building that muscle through the process of utilizing these frameworks that I was learning in that facility. But that chapter had a lot of downside in terms of, the collateral damage that I'd left behind with family, with my community, with people. Just, when you're hooked on drugs, you're not always making the best choices, if you weren't aware. And you're not always telling the truth either with everything, because it takes the priority no matter what. So there were some reparations. There's some repair that I needed to begin some healing and repair. So I was ready, and that was part of the process. There, actually, they taught me there that don't be, you're not going to get out of here and have a parade. Even though you're
Right.
feeling great, like everybody in your life, when you saw them last, you were kind of on the bottom of the barrel in terms of the social status and your reputation and all those things. So I spent the next year and a half or two just really working hard on my family, continuing to work on myself, but my family, my marriage. My wife stuck through me through all that. She's still with me
Mhm.
today, 20 some odd years later. And just that's a quite a testament to her character too. But those next couple of years were tough, and that's when I just poured everything into a business because I learned in the facility that one of the triggers for me that was drugs are not often about the drug or the drinking or whatever it is. It's what we want to cover up. It's what we don't want to face somewhere else. And through my young life, I was only 25 ish at that time, 20, yeah, somewhere in my early 20s, mid 20s. Um, I was taking a lot of jobs and I had an entrepreneur spirit where I never really went all in, Alan. I'd have a job and then I'd try this thing on the side or I would try this
Right.
partnership with somebody else and always had a side hustle or two or three or four, frankly, and they never worked. And then I would just continue to trade my time for dollars at a different job. And that was one of the key triggers that I learned in rehab that was creating and causing and contributing to my bad toxic behaviors is there was a cognitive dissonance between what I thought I was capable of and what I was actually choosing to do. And so, as long as I continued to do things that I thought were below my capabilities, I was going to look for ways to numb that sort of dissonance. And the easy way for me to do that at that time was pain pills. So, I had to level up and I had to get my actions and my thoughts to kind of be, in line. So I worked on a business on my own for the next 18 months or so, really just by myself out of my mother's garage. I mean, I didn't have anything. My wife and I and two kids at the time,
Oh wow.
sleeping on my mom's living room floor in a tiny little house. And, that was just, I'd work in the garage. I would find an office space with an internet connection and just tried to do that all by myself. After about a year and a half, I was in good seven-figure territory of business revenues and looked like at the trajectory I was going that I was probably going to hit eight soon. And it freaked me out. I didn't know what to do because I was just thinking of the taxes and the problems, and I need people to help me with this, and I don't even know what I'm doing. And oh my gosh, it was only a year and a half ago I was in rehab, for hell's sakes. So I started to panic a little, and I called a friend of the family that I knew had some financial expertise and some background, and I began telling him about my business. Short version of that story is we became partners on different new businesses, and collectively, those businesses started to do tens of millions of dollars a year
Amazing.
over the next few years. Um, Unfortunately, I really wasn't strong or didn't build my muscles with frameworks that were financial frameworks. So, as the revenues grew, so did the opportunities for revenues to be siphoned off of the books. And that's really what happened.
Uh-huh.
That over the course of those years, millions and millions of dollars found its way out of my hands and out of my companies into shell companies, into other places, ultimately until it was just bled dry, really. And everything was taken at the last fell swoop, which kind of coincided with 2009, 10, 2010, when the economy was really constricting with the housing crisis. So at that point, there was just a lot of tightening, and so the last $1.5 million were just wiped out of the account. And I spent the next 5 years going through litigation, learning the lesson that financial ignorance is not a good strategy. So I had the price to pay. And then through that process, I began helping some other friends, other entrepreneurs that were kind of like me. They're hustlers. They got out there to solve problems and they didn't mind working their butt off. But when it came to the numbers, they got kind of scared. When it came to like the admin, the payroll, the 941 returns every month,
Hmm.
it was like, I don't even know what that means. And they just kind of put them in a state of panic. And because I had these professionals working through this lawsuit with me at the time, I took one friend's that she wanted to start a new business, and I agreed to do her payroll with my team. I mean, I wasn't doing it. I still don't know how to do payroll. I don't really want to learn, to be honest. Um, But I agreed to help her and one employee. And within a year, we had 50 clients and still didn't have a website. Didn't have, I mean, we never advertised that, but she told 4 or 5 of her friends how great it was to have somebody that she could trust and rely on. They all called, their friends all called. And in no time, we had 50 companies that we were doing anywhere from just a monthly reconciliation kind of at the end of the month to full on outsourced, like entire accounting department for them, doing AR, AP, payroll, taxes, the whole bit. So it turned into a business that was, I loved it because I could talk to, my job was kind of doing the coaching and the consulting side with the
Mm-hmm.
founders, because I would say, don't just ignore this stuff. I know my team's taking care of all these things, but you need to get, you don't need to get a master's degree in accounting to just start thinking about your numbers and helping that data guide your decisions and your next actions. So I love doing that because it was really eye opening for them to get past some of the blocks and the limitations that they had that ultimately were the same thing that I had years before that cost me everything financially.
Justin, that's such an inspiring story. So many ups and downs, right? Like if you're just talking about a movie plot here, and it sounds like you're really taking the lessons, the hard lessons that you learned throughout your career, right, and really helping these future entrepreneurs so they don't make the same mistake, right, going
That's
into it.
my, that's what I feel is now my calling, Alan. Like I look back at over those years and what I, the incredible blessings and the fortune that I've had is just unbelievable. Like I couldn't, from those days, early days in rehab, I would have never guessed the next 5, 6 years would have taken me into the tens of millions of dollars category. And, just the amazing things and opportunities that I got to participate in and bring my family into. I didn't even know how to dream that big, to be honest, when I was there. And then to have it, to go through the next battle and the next, and just to, like, I just know that you don't have, it was self-inflicted. And if I would have been a little more aware, and if I would have had some of the tools and skills that I have today, I
Hmm.
could have avoided all those, just at least minimize the pain, no matter what. It wouldn't have been so
Yeah, for sure.
drastic.
Would you say, Justin, that due to your sales background, is what you think is really driving the incredible growth you face every time you start a new business? It seems like you go from rock bottom to 7 figures in a year and a half, which is a dream, I'm sure, for a lot of listeners out there.
I don't think it hurt me. I think sales is one of the greatest skills to develop, because in order in any business to have a business, you have to exchange goods or services with other human beings. And so at some point in time, a sale has to be transacted. And whether it's, and I don't think sales and marketing are even that different. That might rile some people's feathers, but if you can think about the psychological exchange that's taking place, even when I go into a grocery store and there's merchandising experts that have arranged that whole checkout line and where I stand and the things and where how high they are up, and all that stuff is engineered. I think that's just sales. You're just thinking through, like, my experience as a human, and more of our experiences as humans are we have in common than we have that are not in common. So I guess yes, Alan, that my first reaction was no, it's been about frameworks and systems, but I would say that came second. So the sales overrider is probably a bigger contributing factor to that, because as I think about some of the young entrepreneurs and older entrepreneurs that we coach and work with, there's it's a combination, and I think that there's a 3 or 4 part flywheel that really can drive some predictable growth. Systems, frameworks are usually the bottleneck that people run into once they hit about 2, 3, 4, 500,000. So if you've got people out there listening to us now that just feel like they're stuck at a 500,000, they've been there
Uh-huh.
for a year or two. Maybe I don't know that sales is what's holding them back necessarily, because they've already proven they can make sales. So they're likely at this founder bottleneck where they don't know how to effectively delegate, or if they try to, their common thoughts are, I just can't find good people. It's like, well, your competitors found good people. Like what, like, do they have a lock on the good people and you don't get to find them? It's usually something they need to look inward on and figure out, like, am I not letting go? Did I not document this process? Did I not create a process at all? And I just hired somebody and hope for the best. So yeah, I do think sales is a big indicator. And if you don't have sales experience, or if there's There's people out there thinking of starting a business. Start with sales because you can have all the frameworks and all the right mindset, but if you can't make a sale, you're
Yeah,
done.
you have no profit, you have no business, right?
You have
Can't
nothing.
scale past that.
Nope. You can't scale past zero if you can't make a sale.
Justin, how do you kind of personally structure your business today to kind of protect against those financial or legal volatilities that you faced previously?
Pretty simple. And this is where I try to help people understand that you don't have to be. I said master's degree in accounting,
Hmm.
because I had a few guys working for me through those years that had master's degrees in accounting, and they thought about things very similarly. Probably similar to you. If you're a CPA, you've had some of that same background.
Yeah.
Like you're putting things through the same filter because you went through the same educational process, right? So that makes sense. I'm glad that guys like you are out there to help us because my filter and yours is totally different. I can tell you what. When I go to answer a question, I never open a spreadsheet and start something fresh that way. And I bet you do all the time, huh?
Excel's our best friend.
See what I'm saying? And I have guys like that work for me, guys and gals that I'll say, hey, what do you think we could do about X, Y, or Z? And I see them open Excel. I'm like, why do you do that? Like, what's wrong with you? And I don't really mean that because I think it's a blessing to have those people looking through those details through that filter and that lens. Like I said, because I never will. I just never will. I'm not going to do it. I'm too old to try or care. So what do I do, Alan? Pretty easy. The founders that I work with, I start with the first basic accounting system within their world. And it's simply this: call your CPA. If you don't have one, we can get into that, but call your CPA as soon as this episode is over and talk to the receptionist and say, can I set up a meeting once a quarter with blank, this your CPA?
Mhm.
Well, what is it about? I don't know. I just want it on the books. Give me 45 minutes to an hour. I just want to meet. I want to schedule it so it's there, and I want to do the whole year, the next 12 months. And I wouldn't schedule them like around March 13th or April 12th. I would do it like after some of the big deadlines so that your CPA is not completely stressed out and thinking about 48 other things while you're trying to talk to them. That's literally it. That's the basis of my financial system. Now, there's a lot more complexity that's added on top of that. But if everybody listening just takes that away from this episode, they will win so much more next year than they did this year. Alan, I can assure you. Like I got to give you an example of that. I still do this today. Okay, so I was talking to my CPA. This has been a couple of years now, and it was the fall. It was like November-ish, I think. Yeah, I think we're coming up on Thanksgiving. I was living in New England at the time, and we had a vehicle that was leased by a company, and we were about to turn it in. The lease was about over. It was a Ford Expedition, like big, gigantic SUV for all the kids and everything. I mean, the business for all the business and everything. And sometimes they got it. And it snowed. It was like this much snow, just a tiny little bit. Just like
For New England, yeah, that's nothing. Yeah.
yeah, it was nothing exactly. But it was the first snow of the year, so we hadn't changed our tires over to the snow tires. I wasn't going to change over to the snow tires because within just a few weeks, I'm turning that vehicle back in to get something different. My wife takes the kids to school that day, which is rare because usually I'm doing that. I did that almost every single day. She's taking the kids to school, slides off the road and hits a single mailbox is all. She was okay. Everything's fine. Oh, this is why I remember now. It wasn't all the kids. So I had taken the first batch of kids, but one of the kids wasn't feeling well and he was a little later in the day. So she took the second. That's why she was going a little later because I was like, well, I always took the kids. She hits this mailbox and does damage to the front, to the quarter panel here, to the driver door, to the door behind this. Like she just hit it and kind of slid
Like the
that way
skidded, huh? Yeah, I see.
and did $18,000 of damage
Whew.
from a mailbox. Like
Wow.
it wasn't a lot, but because all those panels were hit, they all had to be repaired and replaced. And I'm like, how did you even do all that in one little thing? She's like, I know. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I just don't know what. Like it was weird. So I'm talking to my CPA in November. I get on the phone with him, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And that's just how we start. We're just chatting like we're chatting right now. And I'm like, Paul, the dumbest shit happened. You won't believe this. And because it was just like a few days before, I said, my wife did this. And I just recounted the whole story. But through his filter, he said, wait a minute. Was that the one that's owned by the such and such company? I said, yes, man. And the lease was over. And I'm just kind of bummed and kind of complaining and griping about it. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you going to get a new car? I'm like, yeah, sometime. Like, I don't know. It's not a big deal. And he's like, could you do it before the end of the year? I'm like, whoa. Like, I could tell he was getting kind of fired up. And he's like, well, the accelerated depreciation is going to lapse and you got to do this right now because if you do it now and you get a half-ton vehicle and you get it for the other business, then you're going to be able to do this. And he starts going on like, hold on, what are you talking about? And he said, go buy a truck now and get it before take delivery before the end of the year and you'll get to write up the entire thing. I'm like, the whole thing? He's like, yes, it'll save you tens of thousands of dollars. So I accelerated depreciation, bought a $56,000 Ford pickup truck. That adjusted my income down. So other income was taxed at a lower bracket. That whole little act, plus I got insurance money for the $18,000 damage, gave the car back, negotiated a deal with the dealership. Like, it was the best thing that happened that whole year financially. It was amazing. And I would have had no idea because I was just going to give him the car back. And I was in no hurry because I'm thinking I might get another car. I'll wait till the New Year's sale. I'll do something. So I didn't care. We had plenty of cars. It was not a big deal. But because of that, my taxable income went down dramatically, and I literally paid about $30,000 or $40,000 in less money going out of my bank account for my taxes that year, just because I had the call on the books to talk to Paul, my CPA, 4 times a year. So was that worth that $300 an hour call? Oh yeah, I'll take those calls. I'll pay that bill with a smile because I would have had no idea about that. I just wasn't going. I do now though, right? That lesson learned is something that I'll hold on to forever. So now at the end of every year, when I get on the part 2.0 of my master financial plan that I'm imparting here, which is not that sophisticated.
No, it's great.
Is on my calendar. It's there. So it's there. Paul's invited, right? He's on the thing and it shows up. But then when I think of something now, because my next one is going to be probably in November, I think. When I think of something now, I just got done going taxes. Taxes are done. I just finished my entity returns. I extend and I filed them in September. So that's all done. I talked to him a lot and I'll talk to him again in another month or two. So if I think of something now, I don't call him and incur that minimum billable rate unless it's urgent. I just go to the calendar. I search Paul, call, I open that event and I just add an item to the agenda. And so if I'm thinking new car, I'm like, huh. Or I'm selling some stocks. I'm like, wait, is that going to affect? I'll just put that on the agenda, stock sell or whatever. And that is there. And then we get on the phone, we kind of shoot the shit, just kind of get caught up. He tells me about his kids and all this stuff. And we maintain a decent relationship. And then he saves me tens of thousands of dollars, which is why I love him.
No, that's a great story, Justin. I would say like most people, when you're like, hey, can you get on a call with your CPA once a month? They'd be like, bleh. You really want me to do that? Right. But that's the kind of example that you're sharing is why you would, right? It's those check-ins on a quarterly or monthly basis that those tax planning things that you can do throughout the year. Whereas most people just wait until April 15th, right? They're like, hey, a month before, hey, here's all my receipts, here are all my documents. Can you figure this out and do my taxes? But that's not how you save taxes. That's just how you file taxes, right?
Yeah, bingo.
Like,
There's no
it's like all the situation's over, right?
Right. They have zero context. So that reminds me, there's a woman who is a friend of my wife, and she called me March like 7th or 8th of this year. Okay. And these dates are important to you, but you guys listening that may not know, March 15th is the entity deadline for filing an entity tax return in the United States. April 15th is the personal deadline. If you extend, you get September 15th and October 15th or thereabouts. Sometimes it's the 16th because it's a Sunday or whatever. So on March 7th, I get a call from my wife's friend. I'm like, hello? And she's telling me that the accountants are all scammers and this is a joke. She went in, talked to this man, the CPA that she'd never met before. And she's calling me on the 7th. Okay. So she must have went in on like the 6th or the 5th. She was pissed because she said, I literally sat there and talked to him for only about 15 minutes, told him a little bit about my business, told him about what was going on. I gave him a bunch of receipts and some of the bank statements that showed the bottom line. I got up and I left and I went to the washroom and then I walked down. And by the time I made it to my car, I saw an invoice from him on my phone saying tax return was prepared. I owed him $15,000 or thereabouts for the return, and that I owed the IRS $136,000 in IRS estate, $136,000. And I was like, Mary, what the hell are you doing? So this is the first time you ever talked to your CPA? And she's like, yeah, and he came all recommended, and I thought he was supposed to be super good, and now I don't know what I'm going to do. And she was panicked because she didn't have all the money, and she didn't
think a lot of money
at
one time. Yeah,
you know. And I spoke to her for about an hour, asking her about her business and telling her how she could categorize. She was missing like a lot of the tools in it. She wasn't bringing those in at all. She wasn't capitalizing any of that. She wasn't even bringing them onto the books. She didn't have a set of books, to be honest. And so she's got this company doing about $500,000 where she's recognizing all the income. She has literally almost none of the expenses except payroll, which it was only her on payroll. So it's not.
So it wasn't much. Yeah.
It wasn't much. Yeah, she wasn't paying herself much because she's like, I'm going to take a basic wage to make sure that I don't get the Social Security and FICA penalties, or nobody comes after me for that.
No.
So it was just one person's salary, but even she had people that she like contractors that she could have 1099. She wasn't doing any of that. So she talked to me for an hour, and I'm not an accountant. I'm definitely not that smart. I was just telling her how to think about her business differently. She spent about 5 or 6 hours, she said, just going through the monthly, like all the details and putting things in categories to the best of her ability. Went back to a different accountant, which it wasn't the accountant's fault at all. Like it was hers. She could have gone back to that same guy with her second work product, and she paid a total of like $40,000 in taxes compared to $136,000. She literally saved over 6 figures of tax by pulling her head out of her butt and actually being a little bit aware of what she was doing. So her strategy beforehand, 1.0 strategy was, oh, I don't like taxes. I'm just going to go, I'm going to ask a bunch of friends. And I heard the same guy's name, so I'm going to go see him. And clearly he'll be the magic miracle worker.
Yeah.
That didn't work. And she actually got to work and wasn't afraid of spreadsheets. And so she started thinking through things differently and realized, oh, those are tools. I can capitalize those. I'm going to put them in here. Oh, those are expenses. I can write those right off. And oh, those are contractors that I paid. I can get a W-9 and 1099 them and write those all off. By doing that, just dropped her taxable income huge amount. She bought a new vehicle for the business, and it didn't even tell the other guy. So a brand new vehicle for the business exclusively. And that's where a big chunk of that savings came from, because she delivers packages. I'm like, you got a truck for the business and you didn't even tell them that it was for the business? Like, that's a big deal. That's a big purchase.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean,
hopefully his new accountant is also telling her to make some estimated tax payments throughout the year, right? Yeah. So she's not hit with that surprise bill every time she gets to the tax time.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, I was going to say, like, you're like the perfect spokesperson for accountants and CPA firms all out there. They should be hiring you, putting you on billboards, and saying, like, look how much I'm saving, right? Just from these conversations I'm having.
For sure. And that's why I like to say it so loud. And then people are like, well, can you help me with my taxes? I'm like, hell no. I don't know how to do that. I just know that there's way better ways to do that. And that's why my first system for getting your financial house in order. And there's more systems that we work with our clients when we coach people. But just to start, at least you get on because when you have, it's a forcing function, right? When you have a meeting with an accountant that is scheduled for 4 times a year, you get on and you're going to be like, hi. Yeah, things are good. Like, I understand that it's not going to feel comfortable at first, but what that forces you to do is to start building a relationship with this person. It forces you to start talking about what you're working on. And it forces you to say, like, you'll get into these weird moments where you're like, I don't know. I was thinking about buying a vehicle, but I'm afraid for cash flow, and that's when an accountant is going to hear what you're saying through their filter. You're looking at it and processing it through your own filter, which might be, I'm trying to avoid that risk and I don't know if I have enough cash flow. They're going to hear accelerated depreciation is back, baby. You got to take, so they're going to show you how that investment at this time of year, especially, like if you're facing a tax bill and you're also really considering purchasing a vehicle and you can capitalize on accelerated depreciation, well, you might have the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? You might be
Absolutely.
able to get that brand new vehicle and drop your tax bill down to almost nothing if you do it at the right time with the right strategy, with the right information coming from the right experts. So please listen to, like, you've got to, it pains me when I talk to people in April and May and
Yeah.
March and even February, and they're like, like it's too late at that point for the previous year. It's not too late for the current year, and that's where I want to smack them around a little bit just to take this serious, because it's the biggest bill you'll ever pay. If you don't do it right, for sure, it's the biggest bill you're going to
Hmm.
pay ever. And there's no taxing agency out there who's just going to be like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Their job is to collect revenue. And so they're going to get it from you anytime they can.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of rules that are on the books to help stimulate our economy if you know how and where to take advantage of them. So you can bitch about how it sucks and you need all these professionals to navigate the system, or and pay the tax, or you can just start learning how to work within that system and leverage those things so that your business has more cash flow. Because I know that if somebody is about to pay $100,000 in tax, and instead they can take that money and they can buy things for their business that are going to help their business grow, and
Hmm.
they can do it this year so that they don't pay the tax bill. Now they don't have the tax bill, they get the thing for their business, and they keep growing. They're going to do better next year. That's why it's such an important part of a business strategy to have a tax idea. So yeah, I'll be spokesperson for that until I'm dead, for sure.
Yeah, and it's not even just the biggest bill, right, Justin? It could be biggest wrong bill that you could be paying,
Yeah.
right? I always tell clients that Uncle Sam is not gonna watch out for your pocket,
Oh,
right? He's just
no.
gonna be like, oh, you want to pay me $100,000? Yeah, I'll take $100,000. We're in a deficit. Yeah, let
Yep.
me take this money, right?
Yep. Exactly.
He's gonna say, oh, okay, you do your accounting correctly, or I will be happily to take your extra money off your
Yep.
hands for you,
Yep. You
right?
got it.
And that's money, like you said, you can reinvest in your business that you don't have available
Totally.
anymore,
Totally.
right?
And that's what I've seen people do. They get to this point where they're growing through the year, and then they get to, and it creates a subconscious issue, Alan, with entrepreneurs that have been in business for 10, 12, 15 years. I see them begin to sabotage at the end of the year because they know that they're going to have a tax bill because they've been doing it wrong the whole time. And that's where I just want to grab them by the throat and say, whoa, 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 hold on, there's a better way. Don't sabotage your business. They're growing, 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 growing all year, and it's going slow, and they're starting to build up. And then it starts to get to the end of the year, and they're like, well, I'm just going to give this bonus and this bonus. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to do this. And their attitude is kind of like, F it. If I don't do it now, I'm just going to get taxed. So they're not investing. They're just kind of, and it's
Buying,
tempting,
yeah.
why not buy 7 of the brand new iPhones because you're going to pay tax on it? You may be able to expense some of those things, but if you had a better strategy to where you could deploy the capital into your business in a way that makes the most sense, in a way
Hmm.
that, I always pay my accountant for the tax returns that he's going to do next year, this year, if I need to, because I know I'm going to pay him and I know about what they are. So I'm making those estimated payments if I have that tax bill. So there's just dumb little things that is going to give, it's like getting a 30% discount on the invoice if you look at it that way, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
do you want to pay? I'm going to pay the tax, but I'm also going to pay the tax return invoice, and I'm going to pay for the inventory. And it's a big one with like e-commerce or any kind of
Hmm.
merchandise. If you have inventory that you need, you just have to have a plan so you're not making these decisions off of hunches and gut feelings. If it's
Hmm.
based off of data, statistics, numbers, and you're going to be purchasing X in inventory over the next 90 days, regardless, buy it this year, give yourself a cash infusion of 30, 40% because of it. And now you're in just a much different situation. So if you're strategically deploying the right kind of tax strategy in your business will grow faster because you have more to deploy.
Hmm.
Period. Full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you got to be the spokesperson for it. I'm gonna make sure that's gonna happen for you.
Okay.
Justin, just to pivot the conversation a little bit, what do you feel about how the whole revolution of AI is that's happening right now? Is that impacting you or entrepreneurs you talk to and the framework that you establish for them?
I love it. I think I think it's mostly all positive. I mean, I'm an optimist, so I like to look at things through a lens of positivity. I have to be an optimist over some of the stuff I've gone through, or else I'd probably be not here anymore. So uh, I think AI is fantastic, and I think it's worth. I'm trying to get my kids to spend more and more time in it. I think everybody should be pouring. And one of my goals on my list is to spend a minimum of 90 minutes every day. It's not a goal; it's actually a not day. Sorry, week. 90 minutes of every week in AI, just because I don't want to be left behind. I want to be out in front. Um, and I don't think AI is going to necessarily replace humans or anything like that. And I definitely am not too worried about the negative side of all of that, like going Terminator on us. But I do think that if you aren't spending time with AI, then somebody who is going to replace your job. I don't think AI is going to replace your job necessarily, but there are people out there that are learning how to leverage it and utilize it, and those folks are going to. Like, I just went to a summit up in Canada, and it was called the AI Adoption Summit, and there was a lot of speakers on the topic, and one of the concepts mentioned there that I'm telling all of my clients and all my team after coming back is we need to learn how to become directors, not doers, because we need to focus, we need to shift that. Like doing is great, and there's still things that we need to do, but AI is going to be able to do so much of it for us that we need to learn how to direct it more appropriately, give it better prompts, give it better automations, because we can get some incredible leverage with AI. But if all we're doing is, hey, write an email response for this email, like we're not using AI for that's just lazy, you know? So that's kind of my approach. But I do believe in getting that time back for founders and anywhere that a founder of any kind of business, service, merchandise, e-commerce, you name it, that's the biggest obstacle. And I think coming back into this financial discussion, that's where most founders feel like they just don't have time to get into those details. So even if what we were just talking about for 20 minutes resonates, they're like, where am I going to do that? I mean, I need Sunday at least for a day off. And I'm not saying work your numbers on Sunday, but I think that's one of those bottlenecks that we mentioned. A lot of founders just they get in these habits where their time bleeds away here, bleeds away there, and they're not leveraging whether it's a tool like AI or even their own workforce and internal team properly. And that's one of the things that I really like to get into and say, let's help you get. As a matter of fact, like I have a playbook called your time reclamation protocol. If anybody's listening here that if you feel like you don't have time for this, but you'd love to check it out or learn a little bit more about AI, just come and DM me, Time Allen, and I'll give it to you. It's what I give my team, every new hire, every person we bring on, and all of my coaching clients. That's where we start. We get back 5 to 7 hours a week on average. That's almost like a whole day.
Yeah.
So that's like having an extra work day by just finding these little bleeds, these gaps where people sometimes lose 20, 30 minutes here, and we stack things, we find automations, we find replacements. And within 2-3 weeks, if you've got 7 hours in a week back, well, now let's figure out, just like your tax bill, let's deploy that into something that's a little more productive that can give you a return so that you can now get a little bit better with finances or get a little bit better with AI or get both, you know?
Yeah. No, speaking of balance, Justin, what have you done recently that you feel like really contributed to that, right? You seem like you're a great family guy. So how do you achieve that kind of family business balances and, like you said, get Sundays back for yourself?
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I have some mixed feelings on that because I could work around the clock and love it. I honestly, I like what I do. You know, you can tell when I start talking about even
Yeah.
taxes. And I mean, who would have thought? Nobody who knows me from my younger years would have ever thought I could get excited talking about taxes. But I do because I am passionate about it, and I talk the same way with my family, and I kind of weave. So on the one hand, I do like boundaries. I guess what I like is independence, Alan. I like freedom. I want to make my own choice about what I do. But I will definitely be sitting with my family and be on my phone DMing people that follow me because they're like, "What do I do in this situation?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I love this." Like, and then my kids will say something like, "Dad, you've been on the phone for 20 minutes straight." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I set it down. Or if they're on the phone and I'm on the phone, then it's not really quality time. So I'm integrating it in. I had somebody ask me on Instagram, because on Friday, I'll often do like a Q&A Friday, like send me whatever questions you've got. And somebody asked this very question. My answer to them there was I was sitting in the hot tub. It was in the backyard, and there's a cactus lit up by a light by the pool, and it's nice. I'm in the desert. It's nice in the evenings. And they're like, "How do you keep a work-life balance?" And my response was, I don't know that I am balanced, but I'm integrated, right? I here I am relaxing. I love sitting in the hot tub at night. I do it almost every night because it's just my way of getting my body, my mind to chill out. So I can go, and I'm usually alone. My family doesn't even want to join me there because I
Mm-hmm.
get it too hot. They don't like it. It's just not their thing. So I sit there and I'm answering those questions. And I took a picture with my phone of the cactus and the pool, and it was dark. And I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but this is pretty damn cool for me. Like I love doing it. It's 10 o'clock at night and I'm still working, I guess, but I'm not stressed out about that at all. Like I kind of like it.
You got to find a thing that you like so work doesn't feel like work anymore, even at
Yeah.
10 p.m. on a Sunday, right?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like it's the independence part. It's the freedom, Alan, because if I can't go, well, you know what I was doing this Sunday? I got up at 5 a.m. and I drove my son 2 hours to a baseball tournament.
Oh,
I sat at that baseball tournament where I was thinking we'd probably be home in about 3 hours, but he kept winning and winning.
oh, I just
They
wanted.
played 4 baseball games. I got home at midnight.
Oh,
That,
wow.
so I was there all day. I had the freedom to choose that and to be there. And I was there with him. I filmed his game. I made like 3 or 4 reels for Instagram. I was filming the whole thing. And in between innings, I jumped into my DMs and I was answering people questions and I was doing stuff there. I was thinking about ideas that I want to write about and an article that I'm working on right now for the next post that we're going to do. You know what I mean? Like that to me it feels like integration, but I had the choice. That's
Mm,
what's key. Because there's been moments in my life where I didn't get to choose. And that is completely out of balance to me. To me, if I don't have the option, then I'm not digging it. And so I've had opportunities in life where we just up and moved to Hawaii, for instance, at the end of our that whole lawsuit thing, and we spent 9 months living on the island, and it was the most magical, unbelievable. Like my kids were little and they still liked me and stuff. It was cool, and we got to hang out. Like I had the freedom to choose that and still work more on my terms, and that's what I think is important for balance. It's when you're like chained or trapped, when you're feeling those feelings, it's probably because of some bad habits. It's probably because your time is getting away from you. And it's probably because you're stuck at level one and you need to get to level two. Like your floor needs to become the ceiling needs to become the new floor. And you've got to figure out how to break through that. And that takes some mindset shifts. It takes some system implementation. It takes learning how to delegate and let go of shit sometimes, like there's a whole process involved here. And most people think, hey, I'm good with advertising, so I'm going to run this agency. But as soon as they get to 2 or 3 employees and they hit five, six, $700,000 of revenue, their skills in ads are no longer what's going to drive the business forward. So that's call back now to your question about sales. It's always important, but there's a point where you need different skills, some soft skills, some human resource management, some system delegation management to break through that next level. And that's where I love to work with people and help them unlock some of those shifts, because then those natural tendencies, like you become a better version of you, and all of a sudden you really can blast through that next level quickly.
Amazing, amazing, insightful. Justin, so usually at this point we start talking about financial and tax management, but I feel like you already covered that the whole episode. So I'm gonna skip that part. Instead, I'm just gonna go with the fun question that we usually ask our guests at this
Okay.
point, right? So the fun question is: imagine one day a rocket ship landed on your front door.
Okay.
Inside it contains $1 billion, right?
Mhm.
And the condition is you have to spend it on three things, and it goes away at the end of the month, right? So you can't, take the money and do the boring thing where you just invest in collect interest,
Okay.
right? Those kind
Okay.
of things, right? What would you want to do with that $1 billion, and what would be the three things you want to spend it on in that month?
Oh my goodness.
Fun question, like I said.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow. A billion. Like a billion lets you travel privately anywhere you want to go.
that can be
So
the first thing. If that's
you
what you want to
don't
get a
have to
private jet.
Yep. Do I get to have the assets that I obtain, or are those gone at the end of the month too?
No, you get to keep it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then we'll
Yeah.
get some
So if
private
you
air
buy a
travel.
lot of our guests want to buy real estate, a mansion for the family. Yeah,
Okay,
just go for it.
okay,
Whatever creativity you want to do.
okay. Got it. Okay, so flying private is the way to go. I mean, it is so much different than flying commercial. It's amazing. So I really would, that's where I would go right away.
Yeah.
Um, I have also found that I'm best when I get to change my environment. I mentioned Hawaii. I also spent 3 months right
Hmm.
after that with my kids, just touring Europe with no plans. We had 2 days of an Airbnb, and everything else we just figured out as we went through on trains.
That sounds awesome.
I've noticed that it puts me in a different, like I get a different headspace. I get a different,
Hmm.
I like change is the short version. So I would take that money and have a minimum of 6 places that I would have different climates, different locations around the world. Beach, definitely one of them. Mountains, definitely one of them. So I could hit at least one place for 2 months at a time is kind of that's where I'm at. And I'm just pulling things off my 5-year plan. Actually, is what I'm saying. So maybe I'm not
Yeah,
that
if you're
creative.
$1 billion, you can move you can accelerate everything, right?
Yeah, I'll just accelerate that plan that I have. Um, so that's one thing. I'd probably grab a couple office buildings because I'd love to have a place that I could build out the way I want it for my team to really flourish and create the creativity. Um, so that's where I would go. Yeah,
Okay, so
I
private
like
plane,
cars. I like cars too.
vacations. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So if you get add a few sports car and then right,
Yeah, there'd
gotta
be
enjoy the spoils.
with $1 billion, there'd be a lot of cars.
There'll be quite a few cars. Yeah, there'll be quite a
Yeah,
few. You might need to
and
get a garage just for the cars.
yeah, yeah. Probably like a warehouse somewhere. That'd be cool. I could be into that. And it's more about like the change of climate, energy, and culture than it is vacationing. That's why I like traveling because I notice when I get to different places where I'm around different people, there's just different vibes. And when I get a different vibe, I think differently. I create differently. I work on things differently. I work on myself differently. So when I can mix it up and break out of that rut, time seems to slow down a little bit. And I get into a better space where I feel like I can contribute more to other people, to my family, to my overall well being. So, yeah, 30 to 60 days in a place is probably the sweet spot for me.
Sweet, great answer, great answer. Okay, Justin. So what's next for you in your business? Any exciting plans or projects on the horizon? Like next 6 months, we're talking.
Well, I'm like I mentioned before, we're really trying to lean into AI and try to
Hmm.
learn what we can automate for two reasons. One, just to see where we can find efficiencies and scale with getting our time back so that we can do a better job. We're doing a lot of content creation lately, which is a new
Nice.
thing for me as of this year. I've never done it before.
Are you a
So
TikToker?
we focus in on Instagram and YouTube, but then we just kind of repurpose on TikTok. So I'm not really focusing on that platform, but that's something that we are going to do. Um, so that's part of our big plans, and just trying to help. Instead of working with individual founders one on one, we're also
Mhm.
introducing just barely launched kind of a group program to make it a little more accessible and affordable, so that it's not so prohibitive to get into. So I want to help people anywhere I can. So I want to create content like this because if that story about my wife and the expedition and the tens and tens of thousands of dollars we saved, like I hope that can inspire people to just book the damn appointment with their accountant. It's not like just acting on something, because I promise you every single person could save a little bit more on their taxes or a lot more. Like it's somewhere between a little and a lot, that's for sure. So I want to get our content out there. I want to really, my goal is to reach 50,000 business owners following us so that we can help them with messages like this, with getting their time back, with having that independence and freedom to grow their business, grow their family, grow their options. Um, and so that's kind of like my purpose that I feel in life. So that, again, if I can do that, then I want to spend a little bit more time with people who are in that cycle of addiction where they feel kind of hopeless, because I've
Mm.
been there. And I know that as soon as they stop putting in, it's like a founder with a bad habit of always controlling everything. Like as soon as I can get them to let go of the bad habit of feeling like they got to control it all, they have this new bandwidth open up. And as soon as that happens, I can show them how to deploy that bandwidth into something different. And when that happens, they level up. And so that's this process of incremental returns. It just keeps happening. And I want to bring that into the world of addiction recovery, because I've seen how powerful an addiction is. And I've seen the bandwidth change as I let go of that and put new habits, healthy habits in place of that one. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been running on like 1/100th of my capacity, because 99 100ths of my capacity is being consumed by an addiction. And that's all I was thinking about. So I know that there's a lot of potential in people that's just locked up behind those walls, that if I could help them see what's possible, like that's what I hope I can contribute to this world.
Yeah. No, Justin, this has been like a treasure trove of incredible advice this entire episode, right? But I still need to
Yeah.
ask this question because this is a segment on the podcast. It's
Okay.
called Final Advice, right? If you can give one piece of advice from all the incredible advice you've already given to someone just starting the entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? It could be 3 simple steps, it could be 1 or 2, something to get them started, something to get them off that couch that they've been stuck on, right? So then they can be the next Justin Lund.
Okay. Well, there's definitely ways to be better than me, that's for sure. So don't follow all of those
It's very hard to top right now from what I've seen this episode. But yeah, that's what we're trying to aim for.
Yeah. I would say default to action. That's the main thing. A lot of people sit down and they write all these plans, they do all this stuff, and they get in the habit of building the plans. And I'd say default to action. I'd come back, number 2, come back to what you brought up, which is make a sale. So default to action parlays right into make a sale. Like if you have an idea to sell these widgets or something, like grab one of them, go outside, talk to strangers, and see if you can get somebody to exchange money for the thing. If you can do that, you have a business. Then start figuring out how to scale. So, but not before that. Don't think about scaling until you've sold that to at least 5 or 10 people. Go make sale, even if you don't have the widget. Like go make the sale. And I'm not saying to take people's money, but if you can't produce the widget in a quick manner after the sale, turn around, call them back and say, oh, here's your money back. I wasn't able to. They don't care. But that at least proves the concept that you could do it. And now often, depending on what you're selling, you may be able to take their capital from the sale to finance the building of the thing that you need to build. So just default to action, make a sale. You don't have to be a great salesperson. But if you're passionate about something and you can get that passion to come through who you are, that's your proof of concept. So
like Nike said, just do it, right? Just go out there and do it, and that's number one thing above everything else. Yeah, Justin, that was fantastic. Obviously, we got so much of abundant advice from you just from this short episode that we're on together and these conversations we're having. Super insightful. I can't wait to see where you take your company in a year's time, especially when you talk about these group entrepreneur lessons that you're launching right now. So we'd love to have you back in a year time to get that update if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, for now, any kind of last minute shout outs, things you want to tell the audience about yourself, how they can reach out to you?
Come find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's all pretty much all the same handle at It's Justin Lund. And like I said before, if there's any of those, like we were talking about getting some of your time, like if you are an entrepreneur and you feel like some of these things resonate, let's help you get some of that time back. I've got a Google Doc that I use for my internal team that I give to our coaching clients. It's yours. Just come. All I ask for is a follow because I do want to increase our following size. I'm trying to get 50,000 businesses following us. So come and follow me and just send me a DM, the word time, Alan, and I'll know that you heard us here on the Free Cash Flow Agency podcast, and the Google Doc is yours. So
awesome.
Get 5 to 7 hours back of your week within a week or 2.
I think everyone will want that. So I'll make sure to put that in the show notes below, right? Cool. Follow Justin on Instagram and he'll make sure to get you that spreadsheet.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. Hopefully you'll enjoy listening to this episode. If there's anything else, feel free to leave us a comment. Alan out.